Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I'll bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Ticket.
Podcasts are brought to you in part by Lewis Jewelers, the official jeweler of The Ticket and proud partner of Michigan Athletics.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider Sports Talk 1050 WTKA online at WTKA.com. Sam Webb, Ira Weintraub on the other side of the county. And during the break, Ira highlighted the point that I was making precisely when I was talking about, is it the persistence of Putin that got things sort of, the Russian Federation has received, for all intents and purposes, when you consider how egregious their conduct has been when it comes to doping, they've gotten some preferential treatment. They've a lot of deference, right? Is that just them being pushy? Is that them being scared? I don't know.
Sam, when people hear you say that they, got caught with some dope, this is a systematic, nation-led from the top, right? They're organizing systematic dope. This is like the East Germans in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And they got busted, and that's why in the last Olympics, they had only a select amount of Russian athletes qualified because most of them were suspended. This year, it sounds like there's more have been unsuspended, but they still aren't completely back, right? They still can't use the flag and the anthem. But if they get busted individually, they're going to get in trouble. But this,
right.
They're just doing more things to be creative. This is a systematic process that the Russians have going to, because it was like for the Sochi Olympics and what they wanted to win. They especially when it's on their home turf. Oh yeah, this whole thing is, but it feeds into what the IOC is, Sam. And so part of it is whether you want to say it's Putin being pushy or Putin being a part of what is the IOC's corrupt system, Sam. Maybe FIFA is more corrupt. But is there a more corrupt organization in the world than the IOC, taking bribes and then go back through the history of it, and you look and you see how racist Avery Brundage back in the 30s, they gave Hitler an Olympics.
They did.
This is a racist and corrupt organization and always has been. And maybe it's not as bad as it has been, but it still is. And there are examples in the last 20 to 40 years as opposed to going back maybe 80 years, but you can go back to 120 or so years that in that window of time that there are maybe no organizations in sports more corrupt or racist than the IOC and their partners, which includes the anti-doping agency.
Listen, and I was reading about this the other day. It's not just doping. It's that so the Russians are banned, right? And they found out that because they get monitored to come off the ban. So they found a systemic attempt by the Russians to tamper with the laboratory data that they were handing over to get off the ban, Ira. Like, you're kidding, right? So they are banned for cheating, and then they are then they get caught, cheating the stats to try to get off the ban that they got put on for cheating. It's like, you can't make this up. And so my point in saying, how do they get this? How do they not just get the book thrown at them where, hey, you know what? You're out, you're done, you're banned, your athletes are banned from these Olympics. How do they not get that? What is that about? They keep pushing the limits because there are not the consequences, at least for a serial violator like that, aren't on par with the crimes. The juice is absolutely worth the squeeze for them. Meanwhile, you look at the United States, Sha'Carri Richardson, suspended for marijuana, not a performance-enhancing drug. Against the rules, yes.
It was a performance-enhancing drug, Sam, for the July 4th competition at Coney Island, though.
How?
The hot dog eating contest.
Oh, I got you. I got you. All right. But in this instance,
not performance enhancing at all.
Not
no.
Performance enhancing, but it's against the rules. So I am
correct. Against the rules, right? That it is. Yes.
she should absolutely. There's a punishment that goes along with that, but clearly a lot of people feels like that's a bad rule, but it's a rule. She should be punished, but she should be punished that severely. Do you need to be displaying the persistence of Putin here? And so what do I mean by that? Not being conciliatory. I mean, they aren't even taking her to be on the relay team. They could do that within the rules.
Right. So for those that don't know the timeline, it's a 1-month suspension. The suspension covers her race, right? The 100 is in the window of the suspension, right. But the 4x100 is after the suspension is over. So Team USA can elect to bring her with them to put her on the Olympic team and have her represent Team USA on the relay team. And for that matter, she could run the first leg and we can know exactly how fast she is. And she could basically win the gold anyway that way if she wanted to. But they had that option. And a lot of people were saying they should take that option because especially reading the circumstances behind her story, why she tested positive. And the U.S. Olympic team here, I think they let her down because they could have taken her.
Come on, man. That is my point.
They let her down. She admits she made a mistake. She admits she broke the rule. She told why she broke the rule. And so fine, if you don't want to appeal to get the suspension reduced by another week, which would allow her to be there to compete in her event, and that's not going to be reduced because you're not Vladimir Putin, fine. But guess what you can do? You can bring her because after her suspension is over, you have a 4x100 relay and she could help you kill it in that, and yet you're leaving her home. And you could help her fulfill her Olympic dream. Yes, she knows she made a mistake. She admitted to making the mistake, and she explained why she did what she did. And you could, within the rules, bring her, and yet you still don't. And you said to Sam, to compare that on the other side, where the Russians are like, we're a bunch of cheaters, but let us back in anyway. And then they beg and plead, and they get their athletes back, some of them back in anyway.
I should be highlighting the World Anti-Doping Agency, but they go hand in hand, right?
That's why I think the IOC, the World they're all corrupt together, yeah. Because isn't part of I think one of them has an office in Moscow or something. Yeah, they're all tied together.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna ban Russia, but they're clean athletes, as if there is such a thing for Russia. Can compete under a neutral banner. It's like, give me a break, dude. And then they cut that in half. Then they cut the ban in half. And they're like you said, systemic doping, like cream clear,
a national program, program. Right. This one side is a young lady who was going through a lot mentally and was in Oregon where it's actually legal. So you could throw that part of it in there too, if you want. The other side, even though it's against the rules, and she talked about it. The other side, yes, from the nation itself, they have a systemic doping program in place. Still do. So if you want to go back to, Sam, we can wrap this up with an example from a movie that people remember. Okay? The training scene in Rocky IV. How was Rocky training in the mountains in the snow, right? How was Drago training? There's a lot of accuracy to that.
It's crazy. That's the 80s. Crazy, right?
Now, it's not as blatant. It's not just a straight up needle like it was then. As you said, it's more like the cream in the clear to try to get around the rules. But it is blatant, systemic, nationally organized doping program.
No doubt. All right. It's 7:02 on a Friday. We got to get to a break. We'll be back on the other side here on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, The Ticket, the official voice of University of Michigan Sports, Ann Arbor, a Cumulus.